describe the architecture, and and then based on the architecture I did the implementation to get the results which I had to showcase in the presentation, in the last presentation. So here I will do one implementation of the lambda function. I will do an implementation, an API for that lambda. I'll create the tables, and I load demo data in this, and I load demo data into the thing. Okay, so let's see to go about doing it. Okay. So firstly, as I said, I have created all the files that are needed for doing this demo. Rather I did this all for actually the actual implementation. Now for this 10 minutes demo, let me start with creating of the table. So everything, as I said, is a Python code, and the SDK is Boto 3. So for the table creation, this is the file. Rather, let me show it in the let me show it here. Okay, so this is the file for creating the table. I create the table with two attributes, two attributes basically, one for partitioning and the other 5 for sorting, and then I go ahead and create this. So let's create this. Okay, so the table is created. Let's go check it in the console. I've already logged into the console, so the employee table has been just created, and you shouldn't see any data in this. I haven't loaded anything. It's basically empty. So what we will do now is we will insert some sample data so that you could then check whether the data is getting loaded and stuff. So for loading the sample data, I have created a batch, basically a small little batch to pump in the data. And this is the file for that. Okay, so I'll execute this, and you should see the data loaded into the table that we just created. Okay, so the data has been loaded, and we should be able to see that. Okay, looks like we are okay, and let's see, hopefully you should see that now sooner. Sometimes the experience. Okay, so you see, these are the tables that I have. These are the records that I have created, and they match. It's the same records that I have created. Okay, now that we have created the table, we have loaded the sample data. Now let's implement a Python API, Python lambda. Let's implement a lambda function to insert the data. As I said, I'm just only showing one of it. So I come to the lambda. Okay, I come to the lambda console. I've created many actually, and let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so I create a function from scratch, and I will say this is insert to dynamo. Okay, and my runtime is going to be Python, and the execution use an existing role. I've created a role actually, so I have created a user and a role to which has sufficient permission to execute all these operations, and I'll show that as well. Okay, so I create this. Okay, so now I have just created the function. So the next step is to I'll copy the code, basically whatever I have done from the past. So the code is otherwise ready. So it's insert. Okay, so I'll just replace this with the code that I have developed. So that's done, and let's deploy it. Next, we will have to test it, so we will create a quick a test event. So I will say insert test event. Okay, so I'll just save it and copy the test from the earlier one that I did. Think. So just copy this. Save it. And now we are now push to test it. Okay, so as you will see, I have inserted a new name, a new record with name my name Rajeev, and then it's the email. So let's quickly go and check the item in the table. Okay, so that you can see that here. So the next step is to then create the API gateway for it to be exposed externally. So I will just go here again, choose the API gateway console. You go to create gateway, create API, and I choose REST API and choose build. Okay, so I will use insert to 9. So I just give a name, just copy the description, and it's a regional endpoint I will choose. I say create. Okay. Now I'm not creating any resource at this point in time because it's just a simple architect. It's a simple design that I have created. So I will now, next step is to actually create the method. So I will choose here post as my method type. It's a lambda function, and then I will have to give the ARN for the lambda. So either you can copy it from that or okay, so this should be the ARN for that particular lambda. Okay, so that's created. Now once the gateway the gateway is created, next step is to actually deploy it. So I will say it's a new stage, and I will say stage name is prod. Just give it a name, and then I say deploy. Yeah, so I should be pretty good now. So this is the URL that I need to invoke to insert a record, which I just showed in the desk here. So let's try that. Okay, so I'll copy from an existing set that I have. Okay, now we will test it with using the API. We use the curl, and we go and do this test. Okay, so let's check whether this particular record has been created. I come to my table and refresh, and you will see that record has been inserted. Okay, so this way I've created the three other two lambda functions. One is for update and one is for listing. I could even do for deleting as well, which I didn't want to do. And the other which lambda that I created was to list the objects. I just used the previous website, that bucket that we created, and then I had an HTML and thing, and I wanted to list this. So it's just to showcase that my APIs can access anything that I want to. And I could just quickly show that to list the bucket, and I'm just going to use that. Okay. So this is on that listing, and we could also look at updating and update stuff. So basically, the update is going to be the same username and email. I am going to add an additional field here, which is the phone number. And then we can see that have it in the update as well. So now it's got updated. Let's come here and do a quick check. So I was able to add the phone schema on this. Yeah, with this I hope I have demonstrated all that is needed to showcase my project, and it matches up to the expectation.